Alright guys, welcome. This is going to be a Stam Warden build, specifically for Imperial City. Let me bring in my camera. I've had a lot of questions what this build is when I'm killing a bunch of people with AoE, which is what this build's focused around. I'm going to be running this pretty much the whole IC event, which I already have been. It's a lot of AoE damage, basically. It's built around killing groups. If you come down here and IC, I mean, there's gankers here and there, and you can kill that stuff pretty easily with this. But most of what you run into is people kind of grouping up and relying on each other. A lot of people that come down to IC now are just really farming. But they do travel in packs, and that's really what this build is meant to break. People that group up, it plays to that advantage. So it's a stamina-based build, and I'll flip through the equipment. This works on CP or non-CP as well. I don't know if I'll post the champion points in this video, wherever I put it. I'll put them below because people always ask for that. But I mainly do non-CP now, and I'll continue doing a lot of non-CP. Between Battlegrounds and non-CP campaign, I do truly prefer it, but either way, this works in both. And frankly, battle testing something in non-CP is a good way to see how it will, transfer to CP. But let's get right to the equipment. That's what people want to know. I'll show various options here as well. I'll start with what I run right now, live. It's going to be a medium build. 5 medium, 1 heavy, 1 light. Since I can help it, I put the heavy on the chest. The light goes on the belt. So this is using Imperial Physique. So this is why this is really just an Imperial City build. This gives a ton of stats, as you can see here. So the 5 pieces, 7,200 health, magicka, and stam. This thing is going to cover you big time. And again, why it works so well on non-CP. Non-CP, you have lower max stats pretty dramatically, which is something you need to move up to be able to survive. So to run this build and run Imperial Physique, you're going to need to be able to carry Telvar, which means you're going to have a healthy amount of Telvar. In my case, I've PvP'd a lot in IC, so I'll just come here, after PvPing, like, you only need 10k, so when you go out and you fight and you can come back, you can just deposit whatever's left over. If you start to work up a pretty decent supply, you can pretty much run this all the time, which I'm able to. And despite losing some, and I even play more than risky. Like, I'll just stay out there and fight while I'm on stream to try to attract people to come fight. And they do, which is good. But you'll still make out pretty well. Not to mention the bonus allows you to get 4 times the stones off things while you're out there. So if you kill a boss, you're going to get 4 times the amount of stones. So it's not too hard to build up a decent supply of Telvar to be able to run this set. It's night and day. It's pretty much the strongest set out there, but it can only be run in Imperial City. Anyway, so I put this 5-piece on the body. Again, 5 medium, 1 heavy here, 1 light in the belt. That's for armor. And the reason is, you want to take advantage of Undaunted passives here, which will give you 2% more max health, stam, and magicka. And in this case, it pays off more than ever with a set like this, where you're really ramping those stats up. So you really want to try to go 5-1-1 here. In my case, for what I'm doing, I run Vicious Death here. I do find killing people, even though I'm using this is a magicka set. Alright, make no mistake. Spell damage, max magicka, spell crit. These things do very little for my build. The max magicka is always welcome. That's nice. But it's really the 5-piece. It's when you kill a player, they violently explode for a lot of damage. And I'll demonstrate that in a bit. Uh, so if you are one-on-one with something, this is obviously not your most ideal setup because this set really does nothing for you at that point. It's really when you're encountering groups. With that said, you can still take on a lot of targets due to the fact that you're running Imperial Physique, which gives you a huge leg up. You just really need to combo properly. These swords, I just left them. These are old swords from old Vicious Death days, so I didn't even transmute them. I just left them both sharpened. You could do like a Nirnhoned and an infused weapon damage one. It's nice. It's definitely better than doing 2 sharpened, I'd say. The reason I left sharpened is because I have different variations of how I run this. So when I'm right now, you'll look at the traits here. I have 2 swift, or actually this is 3 swift right here, which I kind of toss these around. I'll mix and match. I have a setup here with harmony, so you'll see that probably in some of the clips I show. This is strictly for group play. Like, you have to have something to take advantage of with this. In my case, it would be like Gravity Crush. So I'll run with Templars that can drop a Nova, and I can synergize it and do a lot more damage with Harmony on. At which point you give up Swift. And 3 Swift you wouldn't need here. I think I was, while it's not the best, I had these for when I was Emperor. These are just triunes, they're just general stat ones. It's not bad. I would say it's not the best, but I don't think if you're Orc and medium, you're not going to need more than 2 Swift. You know, you'll be fine with 1, maybe 2. Because you're going to start capping out once you're sprinting at that point. But in any event, the Harmony one for group play, if you can do it, that's great. Otherwise, what I would run is probably 1 to 2 Swift. And honestly, probably, like, if I had to pick, non-emp over Triune, I'd probably put like an infused weapon damage or something, but I already have a lot of stuff floating around here. Anyway, that's that. But re-enchant these things. I usually run at least 1 stam recovery, 2 weapon damage maybe, sometimes 2 recovery. Again, it's kind of a mix and match depending on the environment I'm in. But so your 5 Vicious Deaths will be 3 jewelry and 2 weapons, which means it's only active on this bar, not the 2-hander bar. For the 2-hander, I do have a Master Axe, and I do use Cleave. But again, unless you're doing something along the lines of fighting really large groups and using a Harmony-based thing, I would probably switch this to maybe, I don't have my Asylum on me, maybe an Asylum 2-hander. Reason being, in Imperial City, you can build ults very, very quickly with Asylum. Otherwise, it kind of wouldn't matter what you have here, right? Like, because of the way the bar is going to be set up, you're not going to have much more options beyond having 1 2-hander skill. If I have the Master, I'll use Brawler. If I have Asylum, I can put in Reverse Slice. Alternatively, you could have neither of those, and maybe even rather than run this, you run something more for sustain, which for people that, if you really want to stay alive, whether it be a burst heal, I kind of move away from burst healing. I rely on mobility, line of sighting, getting away from the pack, because if you just start slamming heals, at a point you're just going to die when you get overrun. A really good sustain skill not here in the bar is probably Vines. Or if you wanted to go for an offensive thing in group play, you could do Bird of Prey. For simplicity's sake, I will keep this here real quick, just to show you the skill bars. We'll come back to, well, I might as well do the monster set. I have Balorgs, again, group play stuff. Solo is the best? No. Can I make great use of it still? Yes. Reason being, you can build ult very quickly. And Balorgs will give you a pretty big damage increase, since it goes beyond whatever. Here, let me show here. I'll put it on food real quick. You can just see the general, a big skyrocket on weapon damage with Balorgs. Because you're not fighting non-stop in Imperial City. You're generally out on the prowl looking for a fight somewhere. So in that case, you can see I have weapon damage add-on there, which is Gray Skull. People always ask. It's at 2,800. That right there pushes it up. And Battle Orgs will skyrocket it there, right? So it really moves it up. And it gives me a window to do a lot of damage in. And again, you can see my ult's out now. And you can build it pretty quick with Warden, which I'll show. But you'll see with Asylum how I can just move through the dungeon. You see my ult with Asylum, I do this. You see how quickly it moves up, right? And now I can leverage Battle Orgs more frequently. Really get the most out of it. And if you build it up to 500, it'll multiply, 500 times 2 and give you 1,000 weapon damage for 10 seconds. So that's pretty big. But that's for your most offensive options. The other two really good options, Troll King, probably if you're solo, especially if you're not using a burst heal. Well, frankly, for both. If you have a burst heal, I would lean more towards, like, if you really want to put spores on your bar, which is effective. I find it, I kind of don't like spores. I think it's a little too strong. But I prefer playing away from it. Like, I would normally go Vines. It's going to give you a strong heal over time. It also allows you to leverage this passive Nature's Gift, like non-stop, which is very underrated. So that's an option there. But monster sets, you can do a lot. You'll see some clips I use Veladrith, which for the way this functions is not bad, especially on non-CP. I got tired of Veladrith because it takes too long to proc. Like, when it actually procs, there's a second delay, and by the time that happens, it's pretty dumb. I think it's designed, Veladrith, overall for PvP. When they had to nerf a lot of proc sets, they kind of made some of them dumb. That one would be in that category. Anyway, let's go through the bar setup. Your dual wield is considered your front bar here. This is where you really want to pack your punch. So I do rending here for this. This is the two-handed, or the dual wield bleed skill. Very cheap for what it does. A lot of damage. It's 2 instances of damage up front and then a dot. And it's also going to be your functional slow. Your only slow. So you want to get the one that slows. Subterranean core to the Warden. I hate that NPC. You know what? A lot of them drive me nuts. Let's just get outside so I don't have to hear them. We got Steel Tornado, which is going to be used not only as our closer and our AoE, it's kind of your spammable. The way this is going to work and the way I've been playing Warden, which is very effective, and it kind of doesn't make sense, I would expect change in the future, is how much Steel Tornado gets used. Now, some people use it not so effectively. It depends on your build. If you're just in there slamming away at it, you will chew up your stam pretty quick for damage that's not that great. It's, depending how much you can ramp up your stats. But if you combine it for good punches, what I mean by that is combos. So I'll come back to this in a second. Let me just go through the rest. We got Vigor, Shimmering Shield, which I swear by. It's very, very strong. This also gives you Major Heroism. So that's going to help you. That's going to help you as well build ult, Major Heroism, which again goes in tandem with the option of Asylum. All in all, Wardens can build ult very quickly, especially with Shimmering Shield. Even on the mobs, you can leverage this. Major Heroism's crazy. So being able to build ult and rotate combos is good because you do not have an active stun with this setup. But since Wardens can build their ult so quick, you use Dawnbreaker not only as your punch and burst combo, but it's frankly like nearly a reliable stun that comes up. It's got a little bit of a cooldown is almost the way you look at it because you get it so quickly. On the back bar, again, you could either have cleave here, or I would recommend cleave to only people that are, you know, can really master and run the build very well. For starters, I would, if you can get an asylum, I would try using that to build ults quickly. It's probably going to give you the most success. For survival, you can either put like spores or vines here. This is your rotation slot. If you have any, this is it. Ice Fortress for your armor. Green Lotus. Now, Green Lotus is good. You are going to do a lot of light and heavy attacks, in which case this is going to heal you pretty constantly. So when you're in the fights, you're going to be doing a lot of dual-wield heavies. Dual-wield heavies are nice, clean hits, very effective, but you'll also get heals off Green Lotus, like you can see right here, 3,300 crit. Pretty nice. So, yeah, I do really like it. It gives you savagery as well. So when you go back to your dual-wield bar, you know, you're kicking a pretty decent crit rate between having savagery up all the time and medium. And you do want some, like, you need a decent crit. If you get crits with this combo, things die. Like, that's just how it goes. And then lastly, we have Bullnesh. The brutality is redundant here. This is really just for sustain. Okay. So this is pretty good sustain setup. I would say with the vines, it's pretty good for someone to come in and learn this. Although this isn't really a super beginner build, because getting Imperial Physique, you're going to have to be able to PvP a bit and be able to farm some stones. Okay, so that's the gear, that's the skills. Alright, so we got Smiting on the front bar here, Ice Storm on the back. I do use Ice Storm with Balorgs, it's pretty effective, and with Steel Tornado. The other place Master Axe is pretty cool down here is it is actually really nice against the mobs. There are NPCs everywhere down here. Alright, let me show you. If you, I'll hit a group of mobs just so you can see. I really don't feel like aggroing him. Alright, I should show you the pots as well. Pots I use down here. Move speed is absolutely key right now. It's very big. We want expedition pots I use. So I use ones with the movable and stam, and I can pop these while I'm engaging. So these 4 buffs you want to put up before you engage, right? Your Netch, Brutality, your Armor, Green Lotus. Now you're going to engage your target. You're going to put up Subterranean, Popper, Shimmering, come in with the pot loaded, and unload your combo. That's really rotation that you're going to do. Now what's really going on here with this